Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. We can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. So, it's Monday, and we got some big news because it sounds like they have come to an agreement on the government shutdown, one that I think kind of makes Democrats look dumb, but let's look at it, see how the market's reacted. Oh, while I'm thinking about it, fix that light there. Come on. There we go. All right, so here you can see the treasuries down considerably over the weekend because of this deal. And I think what you're going to see overall here through most of the analysis is like concerns about the dollar. Okay. S&P 500, big jump there. Ooh. I mean, it was bad. It was bad on Friday. But they are up big time. They're lucky, you know, like AI and all that, because I think that was getting ugly. They get saved by the government shutdown ending. Let's see. Oil, ticking along. Gold and silver are on the rise. You can see here. Copper a little bit too. And then the Japanese yen. Well, it's not helping the Japanese yen. Actually, the dollar is not down as big as I thought it would be. But I'm going to bet you Bitcoin's up too, huh? Yep, there you go. At least it's above 106. So, so what's going on? Well, while I'm talking here, I got to pull the charts. Sometimes they open up on the wrong screen for whatever reason. I think that my KVM switch isn't consistent with the naming of the monitors, and so if there's been a system restart, it doesn't put them on the right side. So let's fix that. So in addition to the government shutdown news, Donald Trump also announced that they're going to do 50-year bonds, or rather make 50-year bonds available for buying houses, which I think is a pretty big self-own, frankly, from the Trump administration. It's one of those things, it happens a lot where it's like Trump wants to do a thing, and he's so excited to do it or whatever that it ends up creating optics that are ultimately work against him. And that's what I think. Let's put ZT over here first. That's what I think is going on here. Like, he likes the idea of a 50-year bond. I think at some point there's probably going to be a 50-year bond for treasuries. Well, if interest rates go down, they will print a 50-year bond. Okay, I think. And you know, so he's like, oh, well, we should do it for mortgages too. But like, the amount that it saves you on your mortgage is pretty negligible. Like, really, you need lower interest rates. Lower interest rates and more houses. I want an 8th century mortgage. Yeah. But so what this does is this comes out as like, well, this is what, you know, that's what he's going to do for things. Well, then that's going to make silver, is going to make gold more valuable. And then the same thing with the government shutdown. Didn't really change anything except for they promised to have an up or down vote on the healthcare subsidies. It's kind of interesting when you really look at Donald Trump's presidency so far. Um, I think that I don't think that he doesn't care about domestic policy, but clearly his focus has always been on the trade and international issues. And I think that, especially on the diplomatic side, it's been pretty good. It's been pretty effective. They are now, I think, being forced to have to look at domestic policy, right? Like these things that are helping Zoran Mandami win, they are domestic policy issues. They are, housing has become too expensive. So are they going to deal with it? We'll see. But out the gate, their first proposal has been 50-year bond. So that's kind of the stuff. I think we do get, let's see here. Now it's time to come and look at the week ahead. I'm hoping we will get data now that the government's going to open back up. We'll see when we get some of these things. Are we going to trade 50-year? Oh, heck yeah. I really think that at some point at 50, like before COVID, they really should have done it. Like they were talking about it, not even 50, 100-year bonds. Like back then, they should have issued a ton of debt in 100-year bonds. They should have. We would be in so much better of a spot fiscally if we had done 100-year bond instead of everything being in 2s and 5s. Oh well. Okay, so today we don't have a whole lot, just some Fed speakers. Yep, tomorrow is a bank holiday. Wow, lots of Fed speakers tomorrow. What's this? Treasury Market Conference in New York. Oh yeah, so there's going to be lots of talk on Wednesday probably. Thursday, we're going to get CPI. Friday, core PPI. Let's come over to Zero Hedge real quick. See if they've said anything about the data. GOP secures 60 votes as bill to reopen government advances. Oh, okay, so they did it. ICE has received more than 200,000 job applications. Well, it just shows you how many people out there are actually looking for jobs. It's crazy. U.S. and China freeze shipping probes as Goldman warns key trade routes set to deteriorate further. Do you think this rally in gold has legs? Because it could be awfully spectacular if they made new highs, especially in silver. Oh, it seems so juicy, too good to be true. I don't want to get too excited. Well, what do we have? Well, that's interesting. Oh, I see. Because we did... No, that can't be right. Okay. So we started down at the first deviation down. I see. Upside target 23. I don't know about that one. They're already stopped. They're already like hampered by the liquidity, I think. Oh, wow. Reddit is mad. What if I told you 8 people will be out of work soon? I feel like that this is a little tone deaf, but probably amongst Democrats it's not. Probably among Democrats it's not. It still needs to go through the House. Yeah, you think that they're going to turn it down? Give me a break. Why aren't you using Linux? Because the software that we have doesn't work on Linux. When it comes to having a full ecosystem for business software, Linux just doesn't have it. We'll see how what are they calling this thing? Cosmic Desktop or whatever. We'll see how that goes, but I still don't think that Linux has as good of a platform for desktop software anyways. In all seriousness, like the Windows kernel, like the base of it is great. It's just all of the they come out with a new version. And I'm not going to say that there's necessarily anything wrong with it, other than maybe there'll be a feature or two that they get wrong and you have to modify yourself to fix. But it's just like their focus is in all of the wrong places, and they're putting ads and holding people's hands and things like that. Yeah, when they really should just be focused on their business customers. Now, I am building my own platform slowly but surely. I guess it's just kind of a tinkering sort of a thing. But that will be compatible with all platforms. Because we're building it in Rust, it'll be easy to make it across platforms. 3418 at 20 half. So that's worth taking note of. That would be like an average amount to make it tick up or down. But it held. And kind of up here at the highs, this is a little curious. And it's a little bit more volume than I would have expected at this particular time. So let's recenter the DOM here and keep an eye on it. Well, it did tick up, but the amount of level 2 activity is pretty low. So, seems like a Monday so far. Finance student just took out a $50,000 loan meant for education and decided to use it in the stock market instead. Yes, that's called student loan fraud. Okay, so there they ticked up. They burnt up a little bit on that. I think they probably will make it to 23.5. I don't know if that's... I don't really think that one's necessarily worth trading. Problem is the activity is so low, and when the activity is low, it kind of exacerbates your risk reward issues. Like, you get, well, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 isn't bad on the upside. But I think the chances that it could fall back to 19, you know, like if it did, it would happen very quickly. So, oh yeah, that was the other news over the weekend was Donald Trump talking about the $2,000 tariff dividend, which I'm kind of not convinced that it's serious. Well, for some reason the media is taking, because it's not the first time he's talked about it. The media is taking it more seriously this time. I think that a $2,000 tariff dividend would be a terrible idea right now. What? They're talking about it. I don't know. I'm trying to get an idea here if anything's really going on under the surface. Still looks really quiet. So when it's quiet like this, your predictions are just not going to be as effective. You know, market tends to be a little bit more random. It has to be for the market makers to be able to make money. So. Yeah. I didn't like that downtick, but let's see what it does. I'm reading this thing about Substacks, and I'm like, well, if I started a Substack, I think that I would post on it regularly, if not every day. But I would probably very quickly devolve into just complaining about communism, right? Like, so I don't like that they're ticking into 21 again. It was like they extended it by a tick and then came back to the hole. R/advice animals is so upset that the government shutdown is ending. Oh, here's the thread about the 50-year mortgage from r/conservative. Let's see what they say. 50-year mortgage is renting from the bank, but you carry the repairs and risk. We need to be back to 10 and 15-year mortgages. And why are car loans 7 years? Crazy. Dude, cars have gotten so insane. Like, used cars are almost as expensive as the new cars now. So like they're really forcing you into just buying a new car and getting a really long loan on it. Why you have an NQ start that works on NQ but does not work on mini NQ? He retracted the message. That doesn't make sense. Why would it not work on mini NQ? You're not getting filled? I think he just it works okay on NQ. So you're saying like when you run it, like live sim on NQ it works, but on mini NQ it doesn't? Just run it on NQ then. Get a funded trader account and just trade it on NQ. Oh, the signals. No. Like just ignore the order flow on the mini instruments, like mini NQ or the micro 10-year and all of those. Like just completely ignore the order flow. Run all of the order flow against the main NQ and just tell it to submit its orders to mini NQ. So if it's a NinjaTrader indicator, you can do this because you can add an instrument. So just add, run it on mini NQ, but add the main NQ instrument and then tell all of your indicators and stuff to be applied on the main NQ instrument and then submit into the mini. Is there still like no, there's only an E-mini now. They got rid of like the full size contract. Hold on, I forgot to do something. So I'll be right back. All right. So let's see here. Oh, well, they moved up in May 23. That's interesting. That was awfully quick too. But it looks like it only took like 2,000 contracts to do it, so. Well, and there will be a lot of slippage and mixed signals from what I've seen on the equities. A lot of traders are hedging the minis with micros, and you can find spreading between. Oh, really? Are there people spreading between them? I do kind of wonder if part of the intention of the micros is for algorithmic traders to spread them. But did anybody check the deep chart salons? I did. I saw that on Reddit this morning, and they were not happy. Let me see if I can find that. No. They were very unhappy. Okay. So, their deal is for 1 year, $1,000. Plus, I think there's a monthly fee too. So, the same price as Ninja Trader, but only 1 year. What? You're paying $1,000, but you don't even get a permanent license? What? And apparently it's not really actually its own platform. Let's hear. What did they say? It's a relaunch of Volumetrica with their own set of indicators, as far as I understand. Ninja's not great. Well, maybe the default indicators, but the default indicators are just basic. I don't know. The thing is that I should stop saying I don't know, because I do know. I do know. There are so many platforms out there releasing their own order flow platform that are just running the same data, essentially. Like it's not doing anything new or unique that you couldn't see. Like, the reality is, I don't think that any of these show you stuff that you can't see on the DOM. And most of the time, they're hiding some of the most important stuff that the DOM shows you. But people go for it because it looks cool and it's complicated. You know? Now, when it comes to programming it, I really think that Ninja Trader's system is the best. Theirs is pretty easy to deal with. When I say code, I mean I use Cursor. Well, Cursor's not too bad, or like large language models are not too bad at Ninja Trader. The Ninja Trader API has been stable enough for a while that you don't get the hallucinations caused by different versions, but you do get just hallucinations. So but this thread here, everybody was pretty much every comment in here is a negative. Where I think things will get hard is like, you ask the LLM for something and it gives you code and there's a hallucination in it. And then when you search, it's hard to search for the thing. right? Because it's either a really, really broad code base. Like if the LLM hallucinates in like Node, JavaScript Node, then it's a pain in the butt, because there's so much stuff out there in the Node ecosystem. It can be hard to find, you know, what it's actually talking about. Or like Sierra charts, man, trying to vibe code Sierra charts is a real nightmare. They are pretty good at C++, but they every method that it gives you is hallucinated. Like every single one. And Sierra charts API is just a mess. Like you get like this one page with all of the methods on it, and they don't even describe the methods very well. You know? But in NinjaTrader, you just go to the NinjaTrader documentation and search for the keyword that you're looking for and see that it doesn't work. And if you give it the link to that and you tell it don't make any mistakes and double check with the API, it does a pretty good job. And then it's just gonna like run into issues where like there might be a better way to do something and it just doesn't know and it will make it up, right? So, but I think for most of the things that retail traders are trying to do with NinjaTrader, it handles it. If we made our own trading platform, the large language models should be really good at it. And I think one of the things that we can do with making our own platform is give large language models like direct access to the platform. Not necessarily to like place trades for you, but for it to use the platform to do research and give you an analysis. So, and we do the platform in Python, which large language models are really, really good at. And yeah, a trade GPT. And then it would have machine learning models built in. You know, like I want it to have, what's it called now? Well, I can't Boost GX or whatever it's called. You know, these sorts of models, like already basically integrated, like showing you an example of it, so that you can just come in and make all of your indicators that you want in Python and then pass them in as features to the machine learning and see what happens. Because that's what really bothers me is, so one, you can't backtest the order flow without great effort, which we've done and I've given you for in NinjaTrader. Backtestable order flow indicators. But then it's really, really hard to integrate machine learning with it because of the version of C# that they're using and all that. Well, I think that LLMs could be really useful for trading. So here's where I would put it, is that you want an LLM that can utilize MCP servers or other abstractions to get technical information about the market and current conditions. But then you can also use the LLM to scrape news and combine all of this other information that is difficult to put onto a chart. And then give you an explanation for what it thinks is the right play and some other ideas about it and things. I think you would have to be careful about it, because you can go and ask LLMs now and they will just give you like your standard technical analysis kind of setups, which do not perform really very well. I need to make a video today because I saw this video this evening where this person was like, this is the best strategy and it's so easy and I made so much from it, yada, 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 yada. And then, here, I'm going to show you how it works. And then I'll show you the 1 month back test that proves that it works. And I'm immediately like, 1 month? It just like this should be a delete your account type of offense. That influencer should be shamed off the internet for saying, oh, I proved that it works 1 month. 1 month? Try 5 years, buddy. Takes 5 years of data to prove something. You know, I can trade something every day for a year. So like 250 trades. And it's like it can be completely random. Like the strategy can be completely random. And you have a 30 to 40% chance of winning, of being profitable after that. Seriously. 1 month means nothing. You need to get into thousands of trades until the real statistical properties of the strategy show up. So saying 1 month backtest proves the strategy is a huge red flag that proves that this person does not know what they're talking about. And it should be so embarrassing. Like I'm not saying that you should cyberbully people, but they should basically be laughed off the internet. Okay, like don't go and threaten them and do, but do go and laugh at them and mock them. So much so that they give up. That they go and they try and make a new account or something like that. Seriously. Because that's you know what we need to bring back. You know what needs to be brought back? Gatekeeping. It does. I'm sorry, but you need to keep certain standards in your community. And the way that you do that is you show people that it's going to be very, very bad for you socially to do certain things. And when we moved over to this thing on the internet where we allowed anything and everything, no matter how stupid it was, the quality of all communities declined. And so you got to gatekeep in the trading community. They need to know that it should be a 5-year test. And if they say 1 month, they should be laughed off the internet. I gotta go make a video about that. It would be good for strategies if you had order flow data for the past 20 years so we can look at stylized behaviors and point them out for study. Yeah. Well, but here's the thing, is they've been studying order flow for a very long time. And we have the most clear stylized behaviors in the order flow. And these behaviors don't necessarily give you a whole strategy, but they definitely help. Especially they definitely help you in, understanding where edge could potentially be is the biggest thing. Then, of course, there's going to be other edge that people keep to themselves. But I'm going to bet that the models like that are not like so much a single behavior, but just applying a neural network to the order flow book or order book or something like that, right? So I think they were saying in this order flow platform that they do have like the stop outs information, but they only have it for one instrument, which kind of makes me think that they're doing it on their side, and I don't know. Anyways, we would want our platform to work with market by order data as well. So I'm starting to think that that's a real deficiency with NinjaTrader, that it doesn't support it at all. Well, you got to know why it happens. Well, because I think that what happens is any kind of simple pattern, even within the order flow, is going to get taken out of the market really quickly. And so the kind of edges that are left are going to be things where it's a really sophisticated set of conditions. Ones that you're never going to sort out on your own as a human, that you need machine learning to sort out. Okay, they did tick 23.5, by the way. So that's kind of like the two-edged, the two deficiencies in order flow that we have right now. One is that they're very difficult to backtest them. And then two, if you can backtest it, it's difficult to apply machine learning to it because of the platforms. So we solve both of those things. You can have order flow indicators with machine learning built into them, built into the platform, you know, like just the one with the neural network that tells you whether we're in a buy or a sell regime, for instance. Just that simple. Yeah. I don't know. Whatever you want. Whatever you want. And to be, you know, easy to plug them in. So I really think that there's an opportunity for us if we could make a platform. We need to find other. So I've been working on like getting a self-hosted repository, so it's a little bit easier to have other people look at it without making the code public. Because we're getting to the point now where like I can get other people involved. And really what I need is somebody that's like more of a business person that has some experience in fundraising, marketing and fundraising, and you know, but has the wherewithal and balls to help us figure out how to like bootstrap it, because it'll take me decades to do it at the current pace. I forgot to read this thread about what do Republicans think about 50-year bond mortgage? They're pretty negative on it. Sarah is a tough platform, but all the order flow guys, you know why that is, Alfrey? Because they think it's cheaper. You pay slightly more per month than you do for Jigsaw, but there's no upfront fee. And so the people that want to do the order flow and the DOM, and they want to have all of the features, they go to Sierra Charts because they don't want to pay the $500 upfront. That's the only reason. They like the data feed too. I've heard good things about the Denali feed. Yeah, that's true. I tell you what, though, the software itself is a effing mess. Like, there are limits on what you can do. I had to do funky stuff to get the inventory cost basis working on stair charts. It's just not all there. Maybe what they're saying here is actually you're paying $60 a month, but you buy it all up front. So maybe the issue here is the way that they are advertising it by not really advertising the monthly pricing. Struggle to find a real edge. Well, because again, it's gonna be really like in my opinion, my theory at this point is that on an intraday basis, like for scalping, you will not find an edge, even with order flow, unless you're incorporating machine learning. Your primary edge is going to be informational. So you want to watch the order flow because it informs your informational edge, right? Like I can come in and I can say, okay, here's this piece of information. Does price go up or down? But there's too much noise in price. When you actually see the order flow and you see how the order flow reacts, then it's a different thing. By the way, they are going a little bit past this now at 23.5. And I didn't necessarily see anywhere like really aggressive absorption per se. So I'm not quite sure what I think of that. You can grab the context if you look at multiple instruments or markets, there are behaviors between them. Well, so just as an example, if you're using multiple instruments, which instrument is the one that's actually having the volume coming into it versus just following? What's going on here in the treasuries right now, I think is like a great example of when you're getting onto the very short time frames, you know, what is really going on? Because if you're just looking at the price itself, you're seeing, oh, it's a pretty good solid move up, right? But looking at the order flow of it, I'd say there is way more trend in this than the order flow would suggest. So, who's bullish on indices? Well, I think overall I'd be bullish on indices into the year end. But I do kind of question if they've come up too much in the overnight session. The thing that I'm thinking about today is the government shutdown has really hurt hiring. It has seriously hurt hiring. We were starting to recover, and then the shutdown just like really killed all activity. And we're not getting data. And you know, there are alternative sources and everything, but I think that the market is in for a little bit of a shock when we get the data. And so I think that there's this case that, like, yes, the government shutdown ending is a very, very good thing. But damage has already been done. So there may be a period here of a pricing adjustment as we figure out where things really stand before you get some sort of an end of year meltup. Because there are some conditions out there that I think are favorable towards an end of year meltup. In your opinion, is ES more difficult than ZN when using order flow? Absolutely. Absolutely more difficult. ES, in my opinion, ES and NQ, are the most difficult instruments to trade, period. And at the institutions, they don't really trade it like that. They just arbitrage with it. Is all I've ever seen. Just because it's an instrument, like really, you think about it, it's got 500, it contains 500 instruments that each have their own individual order flow in them, right? Wouldn't that be interesting if you could read the order flow of all of the individual stocks and do stuff with that? That could be interesting. But then you're probably getting into something that to really make a good model with, you've got 500 data series and each one of those has a couple of different features that you're tracking. It's too many data series. You wouldn't have a powerful enough computer to do the backtesting on it. But, or the data for that matter, right? But it would be interesting. So yeah, in ES and NQ, there's just so much noise. There's so much noise that it's really hard to know anything for sure. And I really think that most of what retail traders are doing in ES and NQ is playing the playing levels based on options and getting lucky. Literally, more liquidity, good for order flow reading, but it makes the edge get lower, and you'll find different flows in ES due to them being multiple stocks at different motives for transaction. No, well, okay, so let's back up. One result that they find, let's close this. One result that they found in many different studies is that the more liquidity there is in the instrument, the more predictive signals are there. So what they think is going on there is a larger instrument with more liquidity means more players can play there. More big guys can come in and do stuff with it, and like do stuff regularly with it, right? So when we're looking at the treasuries, you know, there are cycles that happen every month, and there are cycles happen every time that there is an auction. And, you know, these are all like pretty consistent behaviors that you will see based on the way that the funds behave, right? And those are things that we can kind of combine together and then compare to the order flow that we're seeing now to derive an edge. Okay. When you get into ES, surely those sorts of things are going on, right? It's just the problem in ES is that the number of things like that are going on is like 50 times higher, right? There's so much going on because of the options and the individual stocks and these sorts of things. You know, there's a lot of, well, like, if you look into treasuries right now, I think that a really large portion of the order flow is a basis trade. And then primary dealers hedging. Versus in ES and NQ, you got to think about what kind of a person is trading ES instead of the individual stocks themselves, right? And so this is why order flow in particular in ES and NQ is often very confusing. Like the situation where price is moving up, but you're seeing cumulative delta consistently moving down is much more likely. And, you know, it happens all the time in ES, whereas it's extremely rare in the 10-year treasury, for instance, right? So they are hard instruments to trade. And the only reason why so many retail traders trade with them is because they move around so much. So they're flocking to the instrument that has the most noise, and trying to find an edge as a retail discretionary trader in the market that has the most noise. Doesn't really seem too smart when you think of it that way, does it? This isn't true when you're trading U.S. Treasuries are going up. Well, so if they're going to come in and they're going to buy like 100,000 Treasuries, they're going to move it, and you only have to take one contract. So you kind of have an advantage in that situation. Okay. You're probably not going to compete with the market-making algos, though. Okay. Like coming in and trying to take one tick out and whatnot. It's unlikely to get very far doing that. It's human nature. Go where there are humans. If a restaurant is packed, more people will want to go there. If a restaurant is completely empty, it will struggle for people. Yeah. For no other reason than how many people are in the parking lot. Yeah. A lot of retail traders want a quick return. ES moves a lot. Only a handful of people got the attention to follow interest rates. Yeah. And I will tell you, like in terms of your ability to develop an asymmetric informational advantage in an instrument, you're far more likely to be able to develop that in treasuries than in equity indexes. Like really, if you want to play equities at this point, I think that you just go and play the individual stocks. Okay. There can be really, really interesting stuff in the individual stocks. Just factor in that all of the stocks tend to move together with the index. So, you know what's going on in your stock that day, and you're seeing order flow, that doesn't just jive with the index, and that can tip you off to key things and help you make good decisions in stocks. And now that they've changed the pattern, or they're going to change the pattern day trader rule, of course, you still have to deal with the wash trading rules. But if you just declare that on your taxes this year that you can use the wash trading rules and scalp equities, that's probably a better gig than trying to trade the equity index futures, which is honestly the hardest thing you can do. There's a lot less mixed signals in individual stocks, and that base is not hedging, so you will find real like if you're seeing a real flow come into the stock, right? There's a lot less in ES. You kind of have to say, okay, what is it? How much of this flow is them following the stocks, the index itself, and how much of this is hedging, and how much of this is retail, and how much of this is the options, and right? And you have to combine all those things together. Whereas when you get to stocks, and especially when you get into pure commodities like corn, copper, right? Much more simple to analyze all of the different things, all the different forces that are coming in at that time. I guess another thing is just that the less you trade, the better you're going to do, generally speaking. So yes, really just captures your attention and makes you want to take things all the time. Give me one task as someone who's a complete beginner. What's the first thing I should learn? Okay, the first thing that you should do is we'll start a new tab here and we'll go to forexfactory.com. And then we're going to come in and we're going to change this to this month, apply settings. Okay. And now we have every major news release for this month. I guess limit it to the dollar, but have all of the different event types on there, right? Okay. And then every time that you see one of these, like ISM manufacturing PMI, and you can click open detail and it will tell you first, what does it do? Level of diffusion index based on surveyed purchasing managers in the manufacturing industry. Why traders care. It's a leading indicator of economic health. Businesses react quickly to market conditions, and their purchasing managers hold perhaps the most current and relevant insight into the company's view of the economy. It is derived from a survey of 300 purchasing managers, which asks respondents to rate the relative level of business conditions, including employment, production, new orders, prices, supplier deliveries, and inventories. And then click on latest release and go and read. So here's this one. We got the manufacturing and the services PMI. Services PMI is maybe a little bit more influential right now. And then you got this report. I'm warning you, it's a long report. Okay. But just read the whole report. Come in and read every report for the last month. Like go back to October's, or maybe you need to go further back than that because of the shutdown, right? Go back to September's and read every report, right? To see like what's in them and what they're saying. Because not only is this going to tell you what is the actual conditions in the economy, but it's also going to tell you like the format of the report and what's in there and everything, so that when the report comes out and we're trading immediately after the report, we can better interpret the information that we're getting and how it might affect our instrument, right? Treasuries are very economically sensitive, so they really react to those reports. And yeah, that's the number one thing you can do. Someday, I would like to write a book where a very large part, probably at least a third of the book, would be talking about those reports and the sorts of things that I've seen in the reports that can matter to traders. But don't have the time to do that right now. Tangential, are you still alive? Yeah. But he's sleepy sometimes. You know, it's been slow trading lately. And his beard is it's a lot. It's a lot great. Actually, you know, on Karma's not too bad. I have an interview today. I should probably go and shave it down a little bit so that I don't look I'm not aging myself, you know? I should become an expert in gray hair. Oh, it's Salim. How are you doing? Oh, I haven't seen you. I know it's been a long time. There's been a couple of people that came along that were like, oh, maybe it's Salim. But then we're like, no, that's not. Why do you have the DOM on the ES set up to 1 point per price? For fun. Honestly, when it's 4 ticks, it moves around so much. I find it very distracting. And since I am not primarily trading ES, I'm just watching for correlations and so forth. I think it makes a lot more sense to to use the tick aggregation over here. And it gives you kind of like a higher level, like, how would you say, higher overview of it. So I really like the tick aggregation. But if I were to be directly trading on ES, I maybe wouldn't use that. You look all right. Yeah, you know, I kind of like the gray. But I was reading this thing that, like, actually you can avoid going gray. That, like, what happens is there's, like, stress. And the stress, like, causes the stem cells to stop producing the pigment. And that's why you go gray. And that you can actually recover some of the grayness if the stress goes away and the stem cells are still okay. And because it has to do with stem cells, maybe someday there could be some treatment that could completely reverse graying. But that also kind of tells you what are the sorts of things that make you go gray. And I've gotten a lot more gray the past year. So that's why I'm like, maybe I should be an expert in grayness, right? Because I can speak from experience, right? You want to avoid going gray. What are the things that you should do? One, have kids in your 20s. Don't wait until you're too old. It's a lot easier to deal with kids when you're young. Don't lose your job. Don't get laid off. And don't day trade. If you do those three things, that'll probably, you know, help you avoid a really large portion of the gray. How is Azure? He's doing really good. He still cannot speak, but he is starting to act more like I would expect a 5-year-old to act. He will play Minecraft with us, and he knows very clearly what he wants to do in the game and has ways of communicating what it is that he wants to us. And he, at this point, can do a lot of stuff. Like, I was working on this world, and like, I just kind of made this one that where I built a couple of things for them so that they could go and, like, battle zombies and stuff, and it'd be relatively controlled, you know. And he went off and was doing his own thing, and he was building like whole buildings and stuff on his own, and nether portals and all sorts of things. So he is in a very, very strange place with autism that I haven't found somebody else like this, although I know that they exist, where basically he is relatively high functioning overall. He just can't speak. So maybe at some point he will start to talk. He can make sounds. He can make all of the individual sounds. He just can't seem to string them together. So with some speech therapy, maybe he could speak. But I've been off and on work the last year.
Block cell.
We had like 6 months, found a 6-month contract that didn't work out. They didn't want to pay, so I told them no. Now I'm out searching again. Actually have one today, and I'm debating whether I want to end at 8 or 9 today. But so yeah, every time I do that, I'm like, you know, we could just be real full-time job next week and meeting new people and doing new exciting things. And but then it's like, or it could be like another 6 months, and that would be a real nightmare. But geez, I had a cousin who couldn't talk until he was 5, but he turned out okay. Well, one of the things that happens is that they get really good at masking it, and they're really not actually okay. So here's a controversial subject that kind of bothers me, is There's this thing with ADHD and autism called masking. Basically, you learn how typical people behave and you model those behaviors even though they're not natural to you. And this can actually be very stressful because a lot of the things that you do, you don't think about them, right? Neurotypical person, you don't even have to think about it. It's because you have that part of your brain is really well developed, and that part of the brain is all about processing really, really quickly. So if a neurodivergent individual tries to copy you, they might be able to copy the same result, but they won't be as fast and they'll be expending a lot of energy to do it, right? And in some cases, they could be doing things that are just outright disruptive. Like you might be able to, as a neurodivergent individual, sit in a crowded room with lots of people talking and have a conversation with somebody, but that's like really, really just, like that triggers all of the sensory issues with autism and is very difficult. And so it's actually kind of harmful to you to some extent. So there's kind of this whole thing of like deprogramming yourself to behave and be in situations that are kind of more favorable towards the way that your brain works. Getting rid of the masking. But some people, I think, take it too far. And are like, oh, this is about being your genuine self or something like that. But if your genuine self is an idiot, like, you're not helping yourself by doing that. Hedge fund owner once told me 6 years ago how long it take in one trade. Okay, so yeah, so most of the hedge funds are trading at higher time frames. Most of them, especially momentum funds, and a very, very large portion of these hedge funds are just momentum funds. Okay, they're gonna hold positions for long times, several months. What am I getting? So somebody texting me. Oh, my wife did text me. It's like a detailed metal Lego figure. I had a roommate with Asperger's. The guy's entire life was just stressing. Yeah. Well, so this is one of the other things about autism that this is a really unpopular thing to say, but I'm telling you, it's the truth, okay? And it's an unfavorable truth that we don't want to be true, but it's true. And how do you deal with it? It's a little rough. Autism is stress. Like, part of the issue with autism is that the brain has difficulty making new connections. You're going to go and do stuff like play Tetris or whatever, right? And then your brain starts playing Tetris in its sleep, right? And your brain is like growing new brain cells to help deal with, solving those problems. And basically what happens in a person with autism is they have difficulty making those connections. And if they do make a connection, then, because like it was particularly engaging and they were, they ate right that day and everything else is just right, it makes that bridge. And then the brain will just keep going over that bridge. And every time that you do, that pathway gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And so you'll get these pathways that are immensely stronger than all of the other pathways relative to what a normal person would do. Right. And that's why they get this like intense interest and they just get stuck on that one interest and they can't think about anything else and they keep going down it over and over and over again. Right. That's basically what's happening with Asperger's. So what that means is that they don't learn a lot of the time. Like, especially when Asher was younger, you know, I could tell him not to do something. I could slap his hand every time that he did it. He would just keep doing it. He'd just keep doing it. He would not learn from doing that thing, right? And the only thing that really catches their attention and you know, causes them to learn is if severe trauma happens from it. Basically, like, this part's not working, but the amygdala does. So if they get triggered or whatever, and they're going to get triggered, like, it's going to be like a daily thing that they're going to have like a freak out of some sort. That's just the way it is. So yeah, that's having autism is stress. Having a family member with autism is stress. And I'm not saying cause them trauma. Don't cause them trauma. But it's unavoidable that they're going to have a lot of trauma in their life. And you kind of have to work with it. Let's see here. Our conversation was about scalping. Another hedge fund owner who just sold his business for $500 million with a continued % revenue told me scalping is a waste of time. Well, I think that for most retail traders, if you are looking to make a ton of money, then yes, scalping is a waste of time. I think that there's some value in it. If anything, it's kind of a loss leader. You learn a lot about the market and you know a lot about what's going on by scalping, even if you're not necessarily going to make a ton of money. That's not to say that you can't make money from doing it, just that, like, the amount of money that you're likely to make is not really worth the effort, right? There are a lot of people that you're going to see out there that have made a ton of money, made it's very rare that you see retail traders that clear $1 million in a year, but there are a few of those, and there's several more that are getting into like hundreds of thousands, right? But typically to do that, they are taking big risks and doing things that aren't very sustainable, right? So if you're scalping right and doing something that's in a very, very sustainable way, like what we're trying to do, yeah, you're not going to make a ton. If you can make enough to pay for all of your costs and everything, like, that's great. And that's what I do most of the time, right? If you're really looking to, like, make the most money, I would probably look at momentum strategies. You know, I would be investing in individual assets and holding them for months at a time. Or just putting money in the S&P 500. Okay, well, I think I will get going because I'm already oh my gosh. See, look at how sweaty I am. I'm going to go to an interview in 2 hours. So I think I'm going to have to take a second shower and maybe I'll trim down the beard and stuff. So I'm going to end it early today. I don't know. Do you think that they did go beyond that first kind of key level? So the next one is at 28.5. So that's worth looking at. That could be interesting. Overall, I'd say it's interesting to see the Treasuries buying up as much because all of the news and everything over the weekend was very much negative. But it seems like the buying is kind of in line with the buying that we were seeing at the end of last week. So let's see. I'm convinced that scalping strats are out there are a plot to dupe retail into getting chewed up in the price action. Well, I wouldn't call it a conspiracy theory or anything. I think that a lot of what happens is there was a strategy that did work at some time and people did really well with it. And then after they did really well with it, they started sharing it to other people. And then other people misunderstand or didn't understand why it was successful and don't understand that the market has changed and that it no longer makes money anyways. And so that's where you kind of get this stuff. And so then everybody is like, comes and does those things and puts their own spin on it, and it evolves over time. And it mostly just ends up being noise, right? Because there was definitely people that, like, in the early 2000s were making tons of money from it. That's when that sort of thing was effective. It's also one of the reasons why I say, like, try doing it in stocks, because order flow is not very popular in stocks yet. Quantitative easing made it a breeze. Well, man, momentum did really well during the quantitative easing era. Anyways, I'm yapping. I'm going to get going. I'll see you guys tomorrow.